In any park I mentioned, no community can do all this work at one time. So we've divided the improvements into several phases. And this is really our best guess at this time. These phases, very few of them are cast in stone, none of them are cast in stone. And when you go for funding, you have to be very opportunistic. There may be opportunities to fund a specific project, and that may make one of these things move up in the phasing and priorities. So I'm just going to take you through what we've suggested as the initial phasing. When you look at the draft plan, this is one area that we'd like a lot of input on, because I'm sure we will make changes to this between now and 2.5 months from now. Phase 1 is some of the circulation enhancements that Sarah talked about. The meadow plantings. The reason we want to move the meadow plantings up soon is it's relatively inexpensive in the big picture, but what it does is it reduces maintenance costs. So your city employees aren't out there cutting all that grass every 2 weeks during the summer. Once this is established, you mow that meadow once a year, and that's a big savings in time and energy. The other thing we thought, and it's based upon comments, was the Chutes and Ladders playground here. That new playground, a major new playground for the city, it's going to be a big draw. It's very important. It's something that people have said is needed. And the other thing we suggested is the dog park. The dog park, again, because it's sort of opportunistic. It's inexpensive to build. It brings a new constituency to the park, get new people involved in the park, and it creates a new activity. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, we show the west side restroom over here, the trike area around the water towers, and the top lot, which is over there. So continuing on some of the work we did in phase 1 over there. Phase 3, we're suggesting the band shell seating, the food truck pull-off area, that spray play alley, and the expanded parking. We can't do the spray park until we build this new playground and change the circulation so it goes around. Because right now we have vehicles that come through here, and we want to bring vehicles around that area, and then we can do the new spray play facility with the expanded parking. So those two things work together. Phase 4 is we've shown the expanded parking at the courts, the tennis court and handball renovations, and the basketball renovations. Phase 5, we're suggesting the work up near the fountains, the Mother Tree Music Playground, the top lot, the pavilion, and the new restroom. And again, the reason we're bringing playgrounds into other areas of parks, this is something we've heard from a lot of people. We need more activities in different parts of the park, so not everybody is coming to the existing playground, and it also gets people into more of the park, and again, creating more eyes and ears in the park, which makes it safer. Phase 6 is, we've talked about the Walnut Street parking, the traffic circle, and making some changes in circulation. One of the great advantages of that, besides increased safety, we pick up about 70 new parking spaces without having to make parking lots. And that's important because when you have an event at the park, people need a place to park. And we probably still won't have enough, but at least that way we have parking that's right next to the park without having to pave over green areas. And then also some phase 2 circulation. And then the last phase we put in here are some of the trails, the walking trails we have in the park, that pump track, and the work on flat top. So that's a summary of the phasing. And again, that will change based upon how successful the city is with specific grants. Here are the numbers, and we've broken those phases into discrete estimates of cost. And they are the largest is just over $1 million. The smallest is about $500,000. The total budget for improvements that we've estimated at this point is just under $6 million. And again, that's over a period of time. It could be over 8 or 10 years. And the great thing about being a resident of Pennsylvania, there is money out there to be had for parks improvements. Our firm alone last year wrote grants for $3.5 million for various clients, and there are a lot of consultants to do that. The city does it. Every year, DCNR gives away $30 million in grants. It's not affected by the budget. It's all based on real estate transfer tax, and it's a great source. It's as non-political as you can imagine. It's a very fair system, and the city's been successful in the past, and you'll be successful in the future with those grants and others too. I have to say, working with DCNR, because this is their home turf, in Harrisburg. They are very, very excited and very interested in continuing to be a partner with the city. They've made a commitment with this plan, and they're going to continue to be your partners. And they will work with you, and they're going to help you move along with funding. There are a number of funding sources. Giesener is one of them. I won't read these, but in the report and this document, which will be online, this is it. It's got lots of stuff in it, probably more than you want to read, but there's a lot of information. So if you have time, please take a look at it. So finally, we're done. I'm sure you have questions, comments, suggestions, and if you raise your hand, I'll call on you. If you didn't know, there's a restroom out that door to the left if you need to use the restrooms. So with that, we'll open up the questions, and Ed and myself and Christine and Sarah and Pat are here, and we'll try to answer your questions. And also Jackie and Kevin, and I'm sure the mayor, there may be questions for you too. So fire away. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
No. Yes. No, I'm sorry. So I see the plan that shied away from more serious skate park in favor of the trike area. I see the merits of that. However, when you look at the opportunity that you could have here for a serious skate park, this whole region of Pennsylvania doesn't have a normal skate park. I'm not talking about like a half pipe. I'm talking about maybe ramps up knee height, rails. Because driving there, I see and I've seen constantly bikers and skaters, exercising their talents over by the Market Square. Not a really good place. There's some outlet. That'll be an opportunity for the whole.
Yes, good comment. We had other suggestions like that during the process. I guess the reason we went to call it a scaled down version or a younger version of a skate park or a pump track is just because we felt it would be most appropriate at this point. But again, make your feelings known during the draft plan. The only thing I'll tell you about this plan, it'll change and it'll evolve. And certainly if there was enough support for a new skate park, I just saw in the news yesterday, the mayor of Reading announced a new major skate park to be built in the city of Reading, and they're trying to raise money for it. So we did one in the city of Bethlehem, in South Bethlehem. They're everywhere, they're very popular. Good comment. We just, based upon everything we heard, we did a scaled down version. Doesn't mean we don't support them, so. Go ahead.
Walnut. At the 18th and Walnut, that idea of a roundabout is an excellent idea. However, when you're talking about making Walnut Street one direction, Walnut Street right now, you may think there's a lot of parking there, but there is also a business on that street that takes a lot of that parking up, especially on weekends. And from 18th Street on State up until Reservoir Drive, there are no traffic lights. So basically at 18th Street is your last light on State Street. 19th Street is a small two-way street, which should only be a one-way street. Then you have another small street, Mint Street, which is right up against the bar, which is in bad condition, but I believe the city's getting ready to fix that. And then you have 20th Street, which is one way going the other way. If you're talking about making that street one way, you're forcing cars onto State Street or pulling from State Street where there are no traffic lights. And right now, 19th and State has the highest number of accidents because once they pass 18th Street, it's a speedway. And at one time, Walnut Street, you could pull out of Pembroke down, but when they put the Civil War Museum there, they blocked that entrance. And right now, that's a mess as it is. And if you go to make it one way, it's going to actually be worse. The other one comment I had, are you going to, the museum came to the park after the roads were there. Sometimes some of us that live in the neighborhood find it very interesting watching the buses go into the park because those roads are not designed for those buses to make those turns. Are you planning to do some widening or straightening up so buses can get in and out of the park any better than they do now?
Yeah, good questions. On the second question, yes, we have to widen the radiuses of those turning areas so the buses can make it through. That's absolutely correct. On the bigger question, and you did a really good job of describing the complex situation along State Street. One of the things we were hoping, and I'm sure they will, is we want the city traffic engineer to take a look at that proposal. I'm sure they're going to have comments, and if you've ever been involved with a traffic solution, it's complex, and everything you said makes sense, and there's no perfect solution. We're trying to come up with a better one. So my guess is we're going to get comments from the city's traffic professional, and we may make some adjustments here, but our attempt is to try to make it a better situation, to create some parking. We know the businesses need it too, so we hear you. Good comments.
And you will need a roundabout up at Taylor Boulevard, because right now that's confusing, trying to figure out how to get in and out of there.
Where the traffic light is? Yeah. Okay. We'll ask the city engineer to look at that too. Yes, sir.
As we know, in the city, I mean, in 2001 there was a slam in broad daylight. Since the weather broke, then there have been about 5 shootings that I know of, and personally I was at one of them when it occurred. As we know, Masslow's hierarchy in these stations, you have to have safety. That's a basic need. So you can make the park as pretty as you want. If one doesn't feel safe, you're not going to go. So my question is, has there been any talk of adding any type of surveillance or cameras in the park to make it seem?
Yes. Good points. We do have in the master plan recommendation to add surveillance cameras that would be tied into the police station. That's a very good one. And the other thing is, every park, whether it's in the city, whether it's a park we've done in Philly or Reading or wherever, or in the suburbs, there's always crime. And the best thing to do, the best deterrent, as Sarah mentioned, is to have more people in the park, because you're not going to do bad things if there are too many people around. Generally, it happens, but I mean, that is proven to be the best deterrent. So we're trying to address that. Go ahead. Sure.
To increase the number of park rangers. We had 0 2 years ago. We added 1, and now we added a second last year. We're looking to continue to build up that capacity. One time the city had quite a few park rangers, and we think we can do it.
Great, thanks. Go ahead.
I've been in the neighborhood. I've been in the neighborhood all day. Carlisle has a huge setup of cameras around their park, and they get to have fun out there every day. Why? Because the cameras is right next to the police station, right next to the most famous park in Carlisle, which is a courtesy to our Reservoir Park. They have fun every day. I picture the same environment, back home. I represent a place called America for Sure. He has a great idea. Why can't we start growing bamboo? Why can't we start growing bamboo trees in this park? And I'm asking, growing up, we never had water in this park. For one thing, we never had water in this park. I'm a representative of a project share in Carlisle, in Carlisle, they feed everyone out there. I don't see anyone feeding anyone out here. Why can't we section off one portion of that place for produce? We're talking about meadows, a section for produce, give it to everyone so we can eat. That's all I want to say.
Great, good comments. In the early meetings, we talked a lot about urban agriculture. We did, and there was a person who was involved with the park years ago who was very interested in that. We didn't find anybody who was interested in it, but I think there are opportunities for urban agriculture here. One might be on Flat Top, because it's only about 12 inches of soil. It's actually could be a really good environment for growing vegetables, and there are lots of examples of urban farms. So comments of the gentleman are well taken, and that's a possibility if you want to move in that direction. The other thing is, I guess, Carlisle has cameras, they work, we know they do, so that's a good thing. Go ahead, Ernest.
Regarding safety, if there were to be implemented park rangers and security people, will there be hours that park will be closed?
I think the park, is it dawn to dusk now, except for the basketball courts that are lit at night? Or it's 10 o'clock, I'm sorry, it's up at 10. So I guess the park is closed now at 10. That's really an operational question for Kevin and his department to look at, but I guess it's 10 o'clock now. So maybe that stays. It seems to make sense if you're doing basketball and hopefully handball and things down here. Does that address your question? Okay, go ahead.
There was a time when at the greenhouses that was used by the senior citizens to grow there, and also the 4-H clubs, but now you're going to get rid of it, so do you have an alternative?
Yeah, greenhouses, again, something we had a lot of discussion about, and the thing about a master plan is it's a suggestion, and it's a proposal until the city moves to the next step to build things. So if there's a group that can promote redoing the greenhouse and promote maintaining it and working at it, that certainly could still happen. It's just, again, during the process, none of the folks who are interested in that came to our meeting and spoke up. So that's certainly a possibility. The current greenhouse, the glass structure, is totally trashed. You have to put a new one in. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just, that's the feedback we got. So certainly, continue to comment on that, and as the plan advances, it could still happen. We just gone with a suggestion from that bike group that wanted to do bike repair there that seemed to make sense, because they were interested.
So on your comments, on your website, we can come in and put in our ideas of what can be done, and also where you can go and get funding to make sure it happens?
You can put your ideas there, yes, and the funding sources we're about to see for all these improvements. So on the website, there'll be an email. I think it may be Jackie's or Kevin's, I'm not sure, where you send in your comments. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank you for considering the development of the handball courts. We've come to these meetings before, and we have a singular focus, of support for most of the ideas, and we want to contribute. We have a singular focus on the development of the handball courts. The YMCA hosts a youth mentoring program. Right now, we're there Wednesday, so right now there are 26 youth, actually 19 youth and 7 adults that are there only on Wednesdays. So just to support what you guys are proposing, if the handball courts are developed, that's 7 days worth of utilizing the courts. This weekend we have a tournament, but we can't host it here in Harrisburg, so we have to go to North Paxton Township, where the courts are not standard size. So we pick up the youth here between Uptown and Allison Hill, and we have to currently drive them. We have handball advocates and players here. The last thing is I'd like to offer myself as an area expert in the development of handball courts to offer just the way the space is and the pictures that you use, which I know are the draft pictures. There's 2 different courts that we were using. One of them is in the Karen Park that we're familiar with, and it's just a totally different use of space that can help you kind of situate it on the park.
Great, and thank you for the work with the kids you work with. I want to say something about the phases, because this points to exactly the reason these phases aren't cast in stone. We have, we're proposing to do the handball court on an existing tennis court right now. Well, we have it all the way down here in phase 4. We have handball. Well, you could come in, and if you look at the cost estimate, there's a detail, it's not just this in there. There are detailed numbers for everything in the plan. You look at that, I don't remember what the cost of the handball is, but you could come in today, and if you had the funding, take that one tennis court out, put the handball in, and you could be playing there in several months if the money was there. So all I'm saying is, and I know the mayor knows this and the city knows this, and I want to make sure everybody else does. If there's a group like yours out there and you have the capacity and the organization and the interest, that's something that can be done outside of this phase structure. You could come in and just deal with that one court right away.
I'd like to propose $15,000.
Awesome. That's great. You don't get donations like that every day, do you, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
Are you planning on making the parking lot bigger? Because right now there's like 10 spaces. There's not much
I didn't
space.
hear all the question, I'm sorry.
Are you planning on expanding the parking lot at the brownstone itself?
Yes, you can't see on the small one when you come up. The parking lot right now, as you know, is pretty small. It's just on the end of the basketball courts. We're proposing to probably pretty much double that parking area. The other thing we're suggesting for the brownstone, because we still haven't gotten in, I still want to get in the building, it's such a cool building. But one of the things we're suggesting there is we're calling it a community cafe. We think it's a great spot if there's a community entrepreneur who can start on weekends, come in and sell coffee or hot dogs or something very simple, or ice cream cones or popsicles. It'd be a great place to just have that available to the community on weekends. Come in and get a cold drink, cup of coffee, a popsicle, and what a great use of that building. And it gets people in it, gets them interested in it, so yeah, we're expanding. Thank you. It's a great building. I think the city's difficulty is with limited funding, if they had a community group or several people in the community who would take stewardship of that building and help them operate it, whether it's just as volunteers or maybe a little business selling coffee, that might be a great thing. Go ahead, sir.
Are there any plans for expanded signage and also trash recycling receptacles? Because I take my dog for a walk to Reservoir Park from time to time, and there isn't a day I go by where I actually pick up bottles and cans that are left in that area for that purpose. So I just want to make sure that there's signs that are telling people not to litter, because if they see something, then they won't do it. And that can also be applied to the business with the dog park, because not everybody's likely to walk their dog in there. It'll be outside the park, and it would be nice to see them clean up after the dogs as they're supposed to.
Are you asking for dogs? Like, you got for bags?
No, I was referring to track signage stating it's clean up after the dogs, and also signage not to litter, and also trash receptacles and recycling receptacles so people can put their trash where it belongs.
So there is trash cans in the park, in every area, but people fail to realize the cans that are actually in the park, those are the trash. Now, we will probably talk to maintenance as well for accessible as far as recycling.
Go ahead.
In the past, we've had facilities at the park so the families can have family reunions, barbecues, things like that. Unless I missed it, I didn't see any area of the park where we would be able to do that. That's the first question. The second question is, was the Uptown resident invited to attend this meeting? Because that's their park too.
When you say uptown, you mean people from outside the neighborhood?
Uptown, North Estate.
We've advertised this as much as we can on the website, so, and I don't know how did everybody find out about this meeting? Website?
No.
Yeah. We have tried to publicize.
So, to address
They did not get these.
the door hangers.
The door hangers.
We only printed
Excuse
X
me?
amount in the immediate area.
They only put them up.
The door hangers pass out in the immediate area around the park to around 1,200 residents. Whereas we use the media to help promote the event.
So people who don't watch
So the
TV
other
didn't see
aspects
it.
towards safety.
So
We've
people
also
that didn't
had-
watch what? The news?
We've also had
Didn't
multiple
see
press
this.
conferences. I spoke with every media outlet we have. We've used Facebook, social media, every avenue. We did not mail directly to every single home in this area.
Thank you.
Yeah. From our experience, this is a really big turnout tonight, and it's always difficult to get the word out, and people are busy. They got all kinds of things going on. So we've had really good attendance at these meetings from our perspective in terms of raw numbers of people. Your first question about pavilions. we are suggesting, I think, three new pavilions plus a bathroom up in this area. So there would be pavilions up here, and certainly, and the existing pavilion, of course, that Kevin also operates and rents right now. So if you think we need more than that 3 or 4, make that suggestion. I think the park could handle more, and they are very popular, so good suggestion.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We don't know who they are, but that's the whole idea of bringing everyone together. So I feel that that is a really good idea. Also with the dog park, I have to with my dog. Email them. There's too much open law. Putting dog park.
Great. Nice shirt. Who's next? Let's see if somebody else hasn't spoken. All right, go ahead.
Would there be a way to make these fairgrounds into possibly like ice skating rinks or hockey rink in the wintertime?
Yeah, good question, good suggestion. The spray parks don't lend themselves easily to that. And the other thing about a naturally freezing skating area, you saw what the winter was like this year, almost didn't happen. So it's very hit or miss with the weather, and to do a refrigerated, real ice rink is very, very expensive. There are synthetic plastic surfaces that you can buy that you can put down on the court area that you can use for skating. I've never used one. I've seen them advertised. They're probably not great, but we could do that. So that could be an option on one of the basketball courts or the tennis court in the winter. So that's an option. So it's not water and ice, it's a plastic ice. Go ahead.
There's currently 5 buildings that we use right now. Pottery, sculpturing, painting, arts and crafts. That's their plans for that area next to the brownstone building. And will there be internet service access, free access park-wide? And are they going to waive the fees for these food trucks? The enormous fees for having a food truck.
Yeah, all good questions. Wi-Fi, we should, if it's not in the plan right now, I think we missed it because we talked about it.
In fact, cities are doing it citywide.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. It should be in the park. And if it can't be in the whole park, certainly it should be in the places where people will sit and congregate. That's a great idea. The food truck issue, I'm not aware of those fees, so we'll put it in our notes for tonight. And we'll talk about it with Kevin and his department and see how that works. And the third question was the woman who runs the programs for the Arts Village, and I'm sorry, Deborah, maybe? I forget her name. What is it? Carrie. She came to one of our focus groups. She's still very energized to run this. The bathroom building of that Arts building needs to be renovated. One of the water pipes froze and that has to be replaced. That's a fairly easy fix. But we certainly encourage a continued use of that because it's a unique facility. It's a great facility in the park. And if there's an organization that can help run it, that's great. They're nice little buildings. Go ahead.
Can you go into a bit more detail about the stormwater best management practices scattered throughout the park?
Sure. Question was, what about stormwater management and what's called best management practices? Today, 40 years ago when I started doing this kind of work, you didn't really have to worry about stormwater too much. You made a big hole and you put water into it and that was it. Today, there are all kinds of regulations which are really important that protect the quality of the water that comes off our roads, which carries oils and gasolines and sediments, and they have to be filtered through the soil in what are called sediment basins or bioswales or rain gardens. And we've located a number of them in the park at different places where there are drainage issues. One of the things we're suggesting under the big parking lot that's to the right of the museum, we really need to go underground and put some of that infiltration under that parking lot because it wasn't built that way when it was originally built. So they are a combination of underground systems. They might be surface that become rain gardens and very beautiful and have flowers and perennials and grasses. And the great partner you have here, Capital Region Water, has taken over the reservoirs, but they also are the city's stormwater management agency. And they're going to have funding over the years to do stormwater management improvements. And we've talked to them, and the great folks that run that agency, about this could be a demonstration area for them to show everyone, all of us, how important it is and why it's important and how beautiful stormwater management can be. Part of their mission, there's a law called the NPDS, and there's a bunch of unfunded mandates called MS4. And under MS4, the city, in all cities across the nation, have to enhance water quality. And one of the charges is to educate the public about that. And so by doing improvements in the park, they can not only help the park, but they can fulfill one of those mandates about educating people about the importance of protecting the quality of our stormwater. So that's how those will work. And it's so fortuitous, Capital Region Water, we think will help fund those moving ahead. Did that answer the question? Yes. Okay.
I think I add to that. So one of the things that Capital Region Water has been doing for our other parks is putting impervious surfaces for our basketball courts. So that's one of our suggestions is that they use impervious surface. So they're doing that in 3 of our other playgrounds already as part of the stormwater management system.
Yes, sir.
Are we too late in the process to possibly look at evaluating putting a focus group with adolescents, possibly targeting our middle schools so we can make sure as far as voting on these different concepts that we are getting, that age bracket as well? Because a lot of, I guess from the past couple of meetings, that's the demographic that we're missing, when it comes to putting in input of seeing these plans. So I think it'd be really, really helpful in terms of maybe putting together, tapping into Roland, Camp Curtin, Math Science Academy, the middle school age kids to kind of get their input of what's going on.
We have reached out a couple of times to the schools. I think it's both the high school and the elementary school. And we also went to, was he one of our key interviews then? No. But we reached out to the school district several times. We've unfortunately not gotten a response. So we have tried our darndest to have that interaction. If that happens, we'll be happy to come out and meet with a group of kids. I mean, the school year is waning. So answer your question, no, it's not too late. We're just having a problem getting that to happen. And we're happy to do it. We could meet, if we came out for an afternoon, we could meet with 3 or 4 or 5 classes in a couple of hours and get kids input. So we're still happy to do that. We agree with you, it's important. We've just been a little frustrated. Go ahead.
We have the Civil War Museum up on the hill. Now, that is an overwhelming theme of our Reservoir Park. Is there any way we can fix the statues, like make sure the fountains are running, and maybe put some cannons up there or something so we can blast them off during the 4th of July and other, holidays throughout the year that would draw some people in to our city, that we have an event to where we have some reenactments going on to show our Union pride whenever we're doing something that's for our centennial or whatever we may have. That brings people to draw from other, like Gettysburg, up to Harrisburg, so that we can get that retail. So we're trying to keep the National Museum alive and energized so that the story can be told of winning the Civil War. That's a big story. And I want to see if we can put maybe some flagpoles throughout, about the park to show the flags that that we have for the city of Harrisburg. Because the Civil War Museum brings federal dollars also. So if you can work hand in hand with the federal level, I'm sure there could be money coming that way if you incorporate it.
Yeah, sure. I like your ideas with the cannons. We have met with the Civil War director as one of our key person interviews, and certainly it's an important part of the park. We did suggest earlier the idea of a cafe, the Gettysburg Cafe, we just called it, outside here to sort of make it a very easy place for people to get a cold drink or something. And that could be run by a private vendor. Maybe it's run in conjunction with the Civil War Museum. The other question you asked was about the fountains. And I think Jed Stewart, is he still here? He was here earlier, but he's with the Harrisburg Parks Foundation. And they're the group that is raising money to restore the fountains. And they're not only trying to raise money to restore them, but to set up a maintenance fund for them so that once they're fixed, there'll be a fund to maintain them, which is always the toughest thing to do for any city agency. So the Harrisburg Parks Foundation is working towards that goal, and certainly promoting the whole park, including the museum, is part of our goal. I'm sorry. Go ahead, in the back.
Yes, my name is Kathy. I'm from Tired of the disease coordinator for the state of Pennsylvania, and what I see is this. There's too much lawn. We need an environmental education center up here so our children around here, which the area obviously is poverty. Of course, all of Harrisburg is. We only have 2 social classes. They are so cute, these children around here. They want to learn. We want to teach them about biodiversity. We want to teach them about nature. We need that. We could get rid of the lawn, plant native plants, have butterflies like Philly and Pittsburgh. That's all I wanted to say.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And that dark green color is what we're showing is with the meadows. So if you look at the light green, that would still be lawn, so we are trying to make a lot of the grass into meadows, so it is a more ecological. Go ahead.
I'm worried about the basketball court area because I live right across from it, and lately, like it's only like April, and I called the cops like 3 times on finding some basketball courts, and I'm just worried, is there going to be added security or something, you know, going throughout the park, especially the weekend, and summertime's coming up, you know, expensive, that's theirs, you know.
Yes, we are looking into extensive security measures at the basketball court, pavilion area, also where the mansion is in the man shell. We're trying to go, obviously, the main, more used areas first. We know we're not going to cover everything this year. We are pretty far along with security measures. As Mayor Paxton stated, we are hiring more rangers. We are realistic, as the gentleman stated. We're never going to be able to completely rid ourselves of issues. But we do need people to stay vigilant. We need people to call and stay calm. We just don't need people to turn their heads and die.
Right.
Really
Now another thing is, like when you guys do the basketball courts, do not put the glass back on.
Could you repeat that again? You said it a lot.
Please do not put glass backing on the basketball courts on the rim, because you guys did that, we did it really nicely, and within a month or 2, broke it.
That's correct. Both sports were broke.
Yeah.
$14,000 was raised to have those courts completed, and both were broken
Within
4 days of each other. 4 days of each other. Sunday, Wednesday night.
Not a city
Fully aware.
This is private,
Fully aware.
wasn't taxpayer dollars.
Don't put glass.
And I think that points to sometimes when private money or anybody comes in and wants to do something, they're trying to do a nice thing. They're trying to give the neighborhood the best, but sometimes you need to look at what's most vandal resistant, maybe not the best, because over the long term, and that's where Kevin's experience comes in. That's where Pat shared his experience with us and with Kevin about things like that. So those are real important details.
And about the vandalism too of the park. You know, you guys are saying about putting the music about the kids going up there, teenagers have nothing else to do than go up and vandalize. The buildings up there, all marked up. You say these, the water towers are nice with murals, right? But then there are graffitis on the other side of the wall, you guys don't see. You guys have a nice picture of the murals and everything, but they're all on the other side.
Right, the graffiti is right where mural ends, graffiti starts. Because for whatever reason, artists seem to respect artists, they don't go over there.
Then why not do the whole thing with murals?
That's being discussed also with Park Partnership. We walked the park 2 months ago and discussed possibly doing that to probably get people not to do that.
The interesting thing about vandalism is we all think it's a modern phenomenon. And I always tell a story. We did a park in Philadelphia where I lived in Philly for 40 years. And we did the Wissahickon Park. And I talked to one of the older gentlemen in the Wissahickon. And they built restrooms during the Works Progress administration in the 1940s. And I said, gee, it must have been great when you built these because they must have been in great shape for years. He goes, are you kidding? A week after we built them, they were trashed. So it's something that every community has to fight against and keep up with. And again, the best way is to have more people in the park so that kind of activity doesn't happen. And then it does, you can call the police or yell at somebody or however you deal with it. Probably the safest way is to just call the police. But that's a continuing struggle. It's been that way for 80 years. And you'd think years ago it didn't happen. It happened.
Go ahead, sir.
I think a good suggestion to help with security is, once again, reaching out to the nonprofits and the grassroots organizations, both male and female, to having, more activities so they're updated. A lot of the grassroots around here are focused in on our youth. So the adult ratio and the youth ratio, it brings the community, it puts the pressure on us and not just the cops, in my opinion. It's really, if this is going to be our park, we have to defend this park no matter what. That should be, in my opinion, like a main priority. So I just suggest, trying to get a lot of grassroots organizations. There's a lot of them. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you for that comment. One thing I want to mention, I forgot your name. Yeah, thank you, Anwar. Anwar was with the Harrisburg Music Festival. And we had our arts group, focus group, and we had the Harrisburg Music Festival, we had the Symphony Orchestra, we had Gannett Theater, we had the woman from the Arts Village, and it's the first time they sort of got together, and they realized they had so many things in common and so many things they could share with each other. So one of the things we hope is with these focus groups that started, and that conversation will continue because each group has things to learn from each other. And one of the things we talked about was maybe a Friends of Reservoir Park, which could be that community organization. That could be a nonprofit, it could be a loose organization, but it's important for you as a community. I mean, our job is easy. We do this for a living. We come in and we see what the issues are. We try to recommend solutions. We try to be realistic. We try to help you find money. But the hard part is the work that you folks do in the community of working in this park and defending it and taking care of it and loving it and protecting it. And that's the hard part. And that never stops. It goes on, and you want to, the next generation's going to come and they're going to do the same thing. So that's really important. So thank you for that comment. Really, really important comment. Go ahead.
I have a question. I grew up playing handball in a park. And so I hope that the wall that you build for the court is not concrete, because they found there was an association with that wall with a prison wall. And so they tore those down in New York City, and they built walls that were textured differently, and people are playing handball indoors and not outdoors. So what is the texture of that wall that you're putting up in the park?
Well, right now it's just on paper. So we can make it anything you want to make it.
Okay.
And we'll
let's not make it a stone wall. Let's not make it an association with something negative.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
Thank you.
comment. Thank you. Somebody else has their hand up. Go ahead.
I'm bouncing off a lady that talked about education. Well, first of all, have you gotten any pushback from animal rights? There's a family of fox that live up there right now. There's fox. There's a family of fox that live in Reservoir Park. Okay, there are falcons up there. There are hawks up there. And I think there's like a bird sanctuary or something like that. That's why it's pushback is getting rid of that, or is that going to continue? Also, I proposed as an education standpoint, some sort of astronomy tower on Flat Top, for people to actually go up and be able to see the space station and things like that. So have you gotten anything on those issues that I just mentioned?
On the wildlife issue, what we're suggesting with all this meadow, this is actually great habitat for a lot of those small animals, and it should enhance that situation. I mean, for the foxes, it'll be great places to maybe grab a bird or two in the early morning. For the birds, it's going to be a great place. For the little mammals that are going to live there, it's going to be a good thing. So for the habitat, I think it's going to improve things. The other thing that meadow does is it reduces the amount of water that runs off of the park and gets more water into the ground, which also helps the habitat. On the second thing, I do remember you made the suggestion with the telescope. I don't think it made it into the plan, but I think it's a great idea, because why do you go to high places and look out when you want to look through the telescopes? So we'll make a note. Hopefully we can get it in the plan. It could be a nice element.
Yeah, I hear a lot of recreation that out there in education. We're going to put money into that.
Yeah, that's again one of those small important details. Did you have another question behind you there?
No, it was just a suggestion. He said about the telescope. Why not putting it in the third floor of the mansion?
That could happen
Turn the
too.
mansion into like some type of museum.
Yeah.
Harrisburg history.
The one issue with the mansion is because it's not handicap accessible beyond the first floor, often you can't make it into a public structure, a public accessibility structure, so that would be the difficulty there. Let's say, for example, the suggestion of considering a bed and breakfast there, that could work because you'd have handicap accessible rooms on the first floor, and then if you've ever been in a B&B, you usually walk up some narrow stairs to get to the room anyway. So, but that's the issue with the third floor. We can't really have it as a public place, because you'd never want to put an elevator in that building, because you'd sort of ruin it, I think. But it's expensive too. Go ahead. Yes.
I just want to piggyback on Cornelius's comment, and I didn't realize it until he made that comment. The kids up at Reservoir Park have not even been tapped into. I think their voice is very important because they play there every day. That's right. And it can't be ignored, and at some point you do have to meet with the superintendent or whomever.
Or the school board.
They should have a voice in this whole process as well, because they're there every day playing. I also want to make a comment about what Butts had to mention. Yeah, the Civil War Museum has quite a number of events, and it's very important, and the mayor is sitting right here, that the National Civil War Museum and the city are working closely together, not just for this plan, but all the time, not just for Flat Top, but all the time. So this shouldn't just be a temporary working together, it should be ongoing. So I wanted to make that comment as well.
In regards to school district, a little bit more background. As well as the consultants reaching out, we've also reached out directly to teachers, kids. We've gotten a lot of mixed messages talking about kids' side tech, as well as the high school. A lot of the kids just don't necessarily want to come to speak. We did pass out information and literature on the courts more than one day. Myself and other staff members. We also passed out, in addition to the door hangers, we did probably pass out probably about 500 postcards. So we did try to get there, engage there.
I think we need to do focus group.
And maybe we're going to have to go and take it 2 steps further and just go and do the interview right on the site. But we did ask for their input as far as what they would like to see and things like that. But obviously, a lot of them will show.
And I was at the focus group in October, and that recommendation was made by me, as a matter of fact, that there should be a youth program and a recreation focus group. So I think what they've, in my opinion, done a phenomenal job incorporating what people have brought to the table. These are incredibly difficult projects to put so much of what so many people want to see. And I personally think you've done an exceptional job. But there clearly are going to be areas where they're going to need input from city council people and citizens who have connection to the community. If they've made attempts to reach out to the organized school district and they're not getting the response we would expect, then I think it's up to us to step up and say, well, you know, we can bring kids or we know organizations and help them to coordinate it. But I do think it is absolutely critical that youth be included, and that clearly was a recommendation that was made early on.
And I also, excuse me, I apologize, just to piggyback off of what Melanie mentioned, it's incumbent upon us as the city to do that outreach as well. We run summer programs at each of the parks in the city of Harrisburg. We operate 2 swimming pools. We can provide kids with, even if it's just a piece of paper with the suggestions that we do have now. I mean, it might be a little late in the process, but we can still get new suggestions from those kids and just give them a piece of paper when they come to the park and a pen and say, what do you think of these ideas? So we get some feedback. I mean, if the school district isn't going to be a partner with us, we have to be that outreach as the city and the folks that are developing the plan so that the kids that attend that park have some input on the future use of that park. I grew up across the street from the park. So not having the youth that are in that immediate area and kids from all over the city have an impact on this, we may end up in a similar situation where kids don't feel like the park is theirs, and when they don't feel like it's theirs, it leads to vandalism and crime, etc. I mean, we have a park uptown that has fiberglass backboards that the mayor was at the dedication in 2015. Those backboards are still standing. We had people that were at the dedication, myself included, last year for that park. I mean, to see what happened to that basketball court was devastating to a lot of us, especially with all the money and hard work that was poured into it. So getting more feedback from the community and those kids and us doing that outreach. We operate these programs and we have a captured group of kids every day from maybe 10 to 6 during the week at a pool. You can give them a piece of paper. It'll take 5 minutes. Get a stack of paper. I mean, if you need help paying, I mean, whatever we need, I know city council is willing to support. And if you get these community and nonprofit groups together, they'll be willing to come out and sit with the kids and give you 5-10 minutes a kid to get some input. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And the other thing is, if we're going to come out and be able to do that, we'll spend more than 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, I think we should respect them just like we've given you a presentation, give them a presentation.
But having a captive group of kids in the summertime for a long period of time, we can give them a abbreviated presentation and ask for their input. Just getting some suggestions and some ideas from them.
Exactly. Yep. Go ahead.
One more on vandalism. I'm not sure if how often anyone here attends that park, but there was a piano on the stage of the pavilion, or the band shell. The next day I went up, someone had pushed it over and destroyed the piano. Is what's being done now, that's probably an issue. I'm wondering if vandalism is going to be now, what's going to be like then? Proposals to yeah, so what I'm getting to is vandalism is pretty acute in this area. So
Yeah, I wish we had some good solutions.
you should see that piano. I mean,
yeah, that's a shame.
It was nice.
Have you seen it?
Yes. I saw it.
Other things we haven't talked about or points you want to make? The other thing I want to just stress before because I know some of you are starting to leave, but the next public meeting will be July 19th. I'm not sure what day of the week that is. We don't know where it's going to be yet. We have to make that location known, so look at the website. And the city website, this is where the plan will be. Harrisburg, PA Gov/Reservoir plan. So you can view it there. And then, I think that's the last thing. And then there'll be an email address that you can send us comments on. Also, Christine's email and Sarah's email is on your agenda. So please tell us, your thoughts. And again, we've got 2 months, 2 months for you to review this and to come back and make changes. So we fully expect we're going to make some changes here. Anything else we haven't talked about? Mayor, do you want to say anything?
I'll just thank everybody for coming out. I know sometimes there can be a little frustration as to, why all these studies, why all this planning. And the reason we do it is because it's really necessary both to engage the community and to be able to apply for the grants that are going to fund the park. We can do this. I've got some other funding sources in mind. The Civil War Museum is actually very much a part of this, and looking forward to the redesign. And this is a great first step. I think we can also commit as a city before the next meeting to engage all the youth in our summer programming. It's a good suggestion. Have a visioning session, maybe get you out to all the different parks and playgrounds. And that'll all be happening now. It hasn't started yet, but we're getting ready for the summer. So thanks for coming out.
And thank you to the church and to Ed and Pastor John for your hospitality. I really appreciate it. Thank you.